net arte, web arte, animação interativa, hipertexto, web filme interativo, cinema interativo, panoramas, VRML, games, software art, generative art, inteligência artificial, robótica, música, performance, instalações interativas e também instalações eletrônicas. Welcome, Mr. Theodore Nelson.
Thank you very much. I'm extremely happy to be here in Brazil for the first time. I'm sad that it's the first time, but it won't be the last. I only wish Brazil were in a more convenient place, at least for people from elsewhere. I love the food, but I love the people even more. It was either very warm welcome and also amazing understanding of my ideas. You see, the problem with my ideas is that they're too simple for most people to understand. Complicated ideas are very popular. Simple ideas, perhaps, are very threatening. Somehow the title of this talk is Software for a New Democracy. I don't think I invented that title, but I'm happy with it, because that has always been my idea. When I started in the computer field, I already felt like a radical, because I did not like the way things were. But I didn't think it was possible to change the economic system, or the political system. But I thought it might be possible to change the social system, and it might be possible to change the way that people think. Because I considered myself an intellectual, but I didn't think that intellectuals should be so elite. I wanted to make everyone an intellectual. Now, let me explain my peculiar background. Everybody says, oh, you like technology. No, I hate technology. But I hate technology in what is the present sense of the word technology. The present sense of the word technology means complicated things that techies like. For example, your cellular telephone, which is a labyrinth of strange mazes and passages that someone made up and that you have to learn. Either that or you don't try, like me. To reset your VCR, to reset the clock on your VCR, this is an exercise, and this is called technology. No, it's not technology. It's what a certain kind of person thinks is the right way to set a clock. And which I don't think is a very good way to set a clock, because a lot of people can't do it. Everything you see, every system you see has been designed by someone. Every computer and every cell phone, there's a person behind it. There is someone who has made this system up. There is someone who has designed it, but they don't want you to know. They don't want you to think it's a person. They want you to think it's technology. For example, and this is a bad example because it's something good. Many people are loyal to the Apple Macintosh. Now, who is responsible for the Apple Macintosh? Steve Jobs, personally. I believe that the success of the Macintosh and more recently the iPod is because Steve Jobs has an extremely good sense of taste. an extremely good sense of what is easy and aesthetically clever. And because he makes these choices, he doesn't make the designs himself, but many designers propose things to him and he selects like a movie director. On the other hand, so many things you buy, I have a little camera here. This is a lovely little camera made by Samsung, but it has 3 different menus, and it's obvious that those 3 different menus were invented by 3 different committees. At least that's my hypothesis. I have a friend in Berkeley, California, who is in the motion picture camera rental business, or the video camera rental business. In the old days, video cameras were relatively simple. Now, video cameras have such high quality that they're capable of making theater quality movies. That's the good news. And what is the bad news? The bad news is that to make theater quality movies with these cameras, you must find your way around 300 menus written by Japanese engineers. Now, it's not that they're Japanese, it's they're engineers. Because if you read anything that an engineer, any menu that some random engineer creates, it makes perfect sense to that person, but probably not to anyone else. Because techies, as a rule, cannot make things clear. Now, there are many brilliant people of great technical ability who are some of the finest writers today. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's unusual. But we have learned, or most people have learned, to be docile, to accept what they are shown and say, this is technology I must deal with. It's usually not technology. It is usually the decisions of someone with a technical title. And when you buy a camera today, or a cell phone, there is someone who is very proud of its complication. See, there's a saying in Hollywood, everyone wants to direct. So, a sample joke. Mother Teresa, now that you've finished building this new hospital, what are you going to do next? I want to direct. Hollywood joke. So, it's true. And so, the reward that programmers get for maybe doing some small piece of software, like counting the words in Microsoft Word, some part of the program that counts all the words in the current document. Okay, now the reward this guy receives is that he gets to do the interface for the program. Does the ability to write a program for counting words mean you have an ability to make an interface? No. This is funny, this is an accident, but I understand that to work your way up to the title of program designer at Microsoft, you have to have served for 6 years as a programmer. So this essentially guarantees that the programs will be incomprehensible. Now, Bill Gates has a problem. Many of us would like to have the problems that Bill Gates has. But the problem of integrating the technical developments inside Microsoft is enormous. I was astonished to find out earlier this year that my friend Ray Ozzie, who created a program called Lotus Notes, supposedly because of a conversation with me, that Ozzie had been hired by Microsoft as the Chief Technical Officer. That's quite an honor, and that means I think he has 650 different projects to coordinate. I wouldn't want that job. So that's the problem they have, of trying to pull all of these together and trying to set reasonable goals for projects that many people have started not knowing what they were doing. Okay. Now, why is it that people still consider me a radical after I've been in the field for 45 years. And I guess it's because I don't accept the decisions that have been made. My view was, here is the computer, we can build a new world, a new home for the human mind that rewards intellect, that facilitates understanding in every possible new way. And what did the others decide to do? They imitated paper. They imitated paper. I hold to the much deeper vision, which is that we can create a new home for the human mind and make it much deeper, and to facilitate all the intelligence and cleverness that is out there, rather than making people, forcing people to fit their ideas into the simulation of paper and the simulation of hierarchy. That's what the conventional computer world is based on. The simulation of hierarchy and the simulation of paper. You buy one of these things and you take a course in computer basics, and you see, computers are basically hierarchical, so that these folders fit one inside the other, and then you have files, and a document is a kind of file, and if you have numbered pages in the document, and it's WYSIWYG, which means that when you print it out, it looks the same way as on the screen. And you have a desktop, and a clipboard, and clipboards are how you connect applications. And that's computer basics. And it's all lies. Now, it's true, those are the computers you have now. Is it the only possibility? No. Everything there was a man behind a curtain, and they designed systems that they thought were right. Let me go quickly through some of the history. The file was born essentially as a bunch of objects, a bunch of data elements which were kept in one place, and then they started giving them names. And then they started putting them on tapes. They didn't have disks. They started putting them on tapes, and someone said, well, how will we keep track of all the files? Someone else said, well, I'm making this up, it's something like this. Someone else said, we'll create a file that's a list of the names of all the files. And that was how hierarchical directories were born. And that's how it's gone. It just built on that, and it was extensible, and it never changed. And when I tell people I think that documents and things should be organized in another way, people say, but I've heard people say, the universe is hierarchical. Technical people say the universe is hierarchical. Geek metaphysics. So, of course, there are many hierarchies in the universe, but there are many other ways to represent the universe. The question has only to do with what is the most useful for human thought. What are the best ways to represent human thought, human ideas, human work as you progress in the computer? Okay, that's straightforward. And I prefer, if we're going to find a universal representation, I prefer parallel structures interconnected sideways, like marginal notes in a document, or like a couple making love. Okay, is that hierarchical? Sometimes, but is it parallel sideways connection? Always. So the point is, it's a more powerful representation and more general. Now, how did we get to the desktop and the clipboard and the WYSIWYG? That was a separate operation. A company called Xerox in the early 70s made the only cheap copiers in the world, and they were very successful, and they set up a research group in California. And these guys essentially set out to imitate paper because Xerox was a paper walloping company. And helping Xerox sell paper walloping equipment was part of the job. And so, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get when you print it out. Well, this turns the computer into a paper simulator, doesn't it? But it serves the purposes of Xerox, which is to sell printing equipment. The clipboard. This is the most evil object in our computer universe, because if you put something on it and the telephone rings, then you put something else on it, and you lose something. So millions of important things are lost to the human race every day because the people at Xerox PARC couldn't make it into something slightly more sophisticated like a stack. And they took the holy words of cut and paste, which meant something entirely different, and they changed them. Let's see, do I have, oh, I don't have that on this machine. I have nice pictures of what cut and paste looked like in 1680 and in 1900, when the author would take scissors and cut the text and paste it in the new sentence. My first job was at the New York Times as a copy boy, and I guess we're not going to see that one. My first job was at the New York Times as a copy boy, and my first job at 9 in the morning was to fill the paste pots. I would take the old paste pots, which had dried up, and scrape out the paste and put in new shining paste from the big can, and put the paste pots on the reporters' desks, and the reporters would come in and type their stories and cut them up and rearrange them and send them upstairs to be typed. That's what cut and paste meant until 1984. But in 1984, the Xerox PARC interface was brought out to the rest of the world. How did that happen? Well, Xerox couldn't sell it. They built a system for secretaries. You see, all of this was to support secretaries. They asked secretaries if they liked it, and they said, yes, we like it very much. So they said, see, it's perfect. They didn't ask authors. They didn't ask editors, I don't think. They just asked secretaries. And the secretaries liked it, but they couldn't sell a $75,000 system to secretaries, so they went instead to, hooray. Yes. So they went instead to someone who could sell these things. They went to Stephen Jobs, who I mentioned before, and he said, I think I can sell it. And he put these things into a computer, which he called the Lisa, and that was a failure. And he put them into something called the Macintosh, and that was a success. And Bill Gates tried to license it from him. And Jobs says, no, it's all ours, you can't have it. So Bill said, okay, I'll make my own. And Jobs said, you do that. And so he did. This is a program of mine, Cosmic Book, that I'm trying to download. We'll try again. Okay. So basically, here's what I proposed for windowing in 1972, before Xerox PARC was created. That the contents of one window could connect directly to the contents of another window. This has various names. Transpointing Windows is one of them, and Cosmic Book is the demo you can download, which does it. But that has been so far ignored. Maybe we can fix that later on. If Cosmic Book shows up tonight, maybe you will see it. Now, I'm going to show you something else. Okay, we have two windows here. And this first view shows us a sort of a table-like structure, which, like database as we know it, is rows of equal length and columns of equal length. And again, I ask, why? Why can't you have this? Why can't you have this? Why can't you, for example, I'll bring in another cursor. Why couldn't you, this way. I'm going to make a little, huh? Oh, yes, good, please do, yes, thank you. Oh, this is exciting. Yes, okay. Oh! Yeah! Yes, there we are. Okay. So we were talking. So let's leave zigzag behind for a minute. So we were talking about connected windows. And again, I'll try to bring back, where is everything? Oh my God, where did it all go? These guys, you think? Oh! Remember, someone invented that. Okay, yeah, here we go. So, here's the concept, as I mentioned, that being able to connect windows in two separate screens. Now you ask, how did I publish this in 1972? When there were no personal computers. When computers were very rare and computer screens were even rarer. Answer, that's not a computer screen, that's a sheet of plastic. And this is strips of paper. Strips of the connection. Okay. So people look at this and they say, Nelson doesn't understand computers. So this is the demo I did with Ian Heath at the University of Southampton. And when we start connecting, we get that. And back. So the connections between the contents of the windows may be seen and moved around. Thank you, thank you. So for example, you could use this with email. Here would be one email, and now you see a reply. But in this reply, you don't just see this little pointy part. See, usually in the email you see a little quotation with this pointy part to say it's from the other. But now you see exactly where it's from. And I believe I would like an email reader like that, wouldn't you? It can be done. It's just that they haven't chosen to do it, and I don't have the money yet. Okay. So that is Cosmic Book, and you can find it on Google or xanadu.com/Cosmic Book. It works only in Windows, I'm sorry. But, it's easier to make things work in Windows, apparently. Okay, now, this, by the way, is in Java, right? This version of Zigzag was done by Thomas J. Luca and Associates in Finland. It was in Java. Java works anywhere, right? No. It worked fine in 2001. It stopped working in 2002. Why? Because Sun, which maintains the Java language, made some changes and it stopped working. It resumed working in 2005, but you can no longer edit the text. So you need a special hack to edit the text. You can download it, but I'm just warning you. Anyway. Okay, I was about to make a connection between these two cells. That works. Yeah. So now you can't quite see it, but you should see it right here, the connection from here to the bottom of this cell. So as I move the cursor, the whole thing goes around. So that's Zigzag, arbitrary structures of cells in space. So what we have is a free-form sculpture in multiple dimensions. Now that may sound very threatening, but you'll love it in a minute. What that means is that since we have only this extremely simple data of cells interconnected at right angles, that means it's very easy to make new views. And you just design a view that shows the aspects you want, and we add it to the list of views.
first it's Ted Nilsson's link and node hypertext.
A small little monitor keeps the two doors open.
Expandir projetos com uma série de direções novas, ou mesmo alterar completamente projetos.
E o subtítulo é o imã das instituições modernas.
Y por otro lado, una herramienta de back office o de administración de contenidos.
Tem muitas funções matemáticas, é um ambiente muito rico.
The original plan was that Hans Bernhard Übermorgen should be presenting paper in
challenge the interview within the discrete and uniform policies of the triad organizations.
Like a year later, I was asked by a guy from Amsterdam, Willem Facebook.
Eles têm feito alguns outros projetos. E o projeto agora é fazer bonequinho.
Model release form, access a model release form.
Computadores, treinamento, conteúdo.
Podem-se perceber muitas das coisas mais importantes do que
Someone could kind of call sort of zap your
And sublimity, its relationship to technology.
The operative concept here is applied, and it occurs in a number of different levels.
Os elementos básicos que constituem como eles podem se codificar.
Heavily involved in the military.
Include art credit and media art
principalmente na academia, que a gente trabalha na universidade.
Então, meta-reciclagem, a gente atua com hypermedia.
A gente começa falando da inteligência coletiva.
Music might be the cultural area where our minds are most easily controlled.